Well, when I went to Paris last December in 2003, I had a show at the Spierstra Gallery on Rue de Perche, and I met Psychosis at that show, and a number of other writers too. And Psychosis, that's how I pronounce his name. Is that correct?
Yeah, Psychosis.
Psychosis. So, and he started talking about, wouldn't it be interesting to go to the catacombs that he'd like to show me? And I thought, okay, that would be fun, but I only had like one more day there, and I'm not a night person.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, when do we have to go? He said, oh, around midnight. And I thought, oh God. And then he said, I said to him, well, how long do you think we'd be down there? And he'd say, oh, maybe 3 hours. So I said, okay, that's okay, I'll do that. You know, I can't really turn down an offer like that for an experience like that. It would be a real adventure. So I said, okay, I'll stay up and I'll go. So we met at his apartment at midnight, and there were, maybe 6 other people there. And after waiting around for about an hour, we got together and started out to, he lives quite close to where there's a manhole cover in the street where you can open it up and climb down a ladder. So that's what we did. We climbed down the ladder and went and started walking through. And of course you have to go at a crouch. And there was water at the time because there had been rain. So there was about 6 inches of water on the floor, and you had to go at a crouch. So this was tiring, for people accustomed to standing up. Also, Psychosis gave me a light, so that he said, you're going to bump your head if you're not careful. So give this light, and you can see when the ceiling drops low, so you won't bump your head. So I did that, and we walked it seemed to me, for miles, like that through the tunnels, until we came to the first thing we visited was the bone room, which is under the Cimetière de Montparnasse, and all the bones were there in a pile, except for the skulls, which they informed me had been long since sold to anatomy students. So we were in the bone room, and while we were there, Psychosis says, well, how do you like it? I say, well, it's great, except it's very noisy because nobody will shut up, and everybody's got lights on, so I can't really get the experience. In fact, everybody was kind of rowdy. We would say, all right, turn out the light and be quiet, so it would be, for a moment it would be dark, and then somebody would go or something like that, and everybody would laugh, and that was that. So Psychosis said, okay, you come with me, let's leave everybody behind here. And so we went off by ourselves into the tunnels and got to a place where we turned off the light and just stopped. And that was when I had the full experience of the incredible solitude and the sort of velvety black darkness and the complete quiet. Let me see if I can turn this whole thing off. And then the absolute silence was amazing. But you could hear kind of, every once in a while, a rumble going through in the distance, which I assumed was a train.
Yeah.
I think you can hear things like that.
Yeah.
So after that, we went back and joined the others, and they wanted to show me the railroad. So we walked to where the quarry was, and there were still railroad tracks, and so I saw that, and everybody was riding the little track, the little trolley down into the mine. And the other room that we saw was the rat room, the rat shrine, which was quite wonderful. The way rocks had been placed in a kind of interesting design. And the other room, I don't remember what it was, except there were steps going up.
cabinet minéralogique.
Yeah, yeah. And in that room we met Cochise.
Mm.
You know, he was busy setting up his hammock in there. And I thought, you know, and here everybody was still making a lot of noise. So after a little while I went to Cochise and I said, does this bother you? Everybody coming in and interrupting your solitude. And he said, no. He said, I don't live here. He said, I'm just coming in to hang out and enjoy myself, but it doesn't bother me. And they told me his story, you know, how he'd been recently released from a Thailand prison and had returned to Paris and was spending a lot of time down there. And certainly for me, being an outsider and not knowing the fullness of who might be down there, that added a little bit of an edge of fear to the whole thing. You know, it was good to be with people that were friendly. You know, that was reassuring, but still you never knew. There was a little bit of the unknown there.
Plus not being able to get out just by yourself if anything happens. That's
Right,
something
yeah,
extra.
I'm depending on everybody. In fact, when we left, the people that I was with got into a fight with each other. And so some people, the group split up. And so when we left, we didn't know if the other part of the group had gotten out or not. So then there was a question, what do? Do you put the cover back on? You know, and then I was worried, does that mean they get trapped in there? And, you know, so I didn't. So we stood around for a while waiting, and nobody came out, and we finally decided that they'd already come out and closed it up and left. So, I mean, the whole thing was fueled with vodka and grass, so it was a little bit, you know, crazy at that level.
We heard it was rum, but...
You're right. It was rum. It was rum. It was a it was white rum, and it was kind of harsh. So it was. I don't remember all the names of the people that I was with and who was having beef with who, but there was one guy there who was really loud and obnoxious. And so somebody finally had had enough and punched him. And there was there was a battle which I didn't witness, but you could hear it in the next, you know, cave. Everybody yelling and slamming around in the water.
Did you manage to avoid hitting your head on the scenes?
No. No. When I got out, and of course, 3 hours, 3 o'clock in the morning? No, it was 7 o'clock in the morning. So we were down there for 6 or 7 hours. And I had, you know, I'd hit myself a number of times because you just do. And with having no protective hair covering, I was dripping blood down my face. And I thought, oh no, I have to go back to the hotel. and I was hoping to get back to the hotel before 7 because I knew the like concierge came on at 7. I thought, I can get back before he gets back. Then it won't be embarrassing. So I came into the hotel just covered with mud, right? Covered with a limestone, and blood dripping down. And of course the concierge had just gotten back. And I knew it was a perfect, you know, caricature of French surprise. You know, the face like, mon Dieu, you know, what has happened to you? And I explained to him, I told him, I said, well, you know, I was I'm a photographer, so I was invited to go down into the catacombs, and I spent the night in the catacombs. And I referred to it as ma folie. And he said, no, not at all. He said, you have been privileged. You have been able to see a part of Paris that people who live there all their lives have never seen. So he was fine. My fears were unfounded. So, yeah, all in all, it was fun. And it's not where I'd definitely, I'm not of the same sort of mind where I'd really want to be down there hours and hours at a time, you know. But it was a good experience to taste it.